Yesterday, also the Big Ten men's basketball schedule was released as far as who they're going to be playing and where. Times and TV and all that stuff, etc., will be uh, let out later. But it's looks to be I'd have to say it's a favorable schedule for Indiana. Yeah, you've got to play Michigan State twice, Illinois twice, Purdue twice, but that's pretty common. On the few games that they don't have to travel or they have to travel, I think that they've got. I think it worked out into their favor. So overall, as a conference schedule, I think that it was a favorable release for them.
Yeah, it depends on how you want to look at it. I think, if you just want to look at it from the standpoint of quantity of wins, they probably could have gotten a better schedule. The reality is only getting to play Nebraska, Penn State, Minnesota, and Maryland each once, 3 of those 4 games being on the road, means, you maybe don't get as many of those banker, opportunities for wins that you see as just sort of easy ones, especially at home. On the other hand, and I think people kind of see it that way because they're thinking about this as maybe a conference title contender, and at some level, we can talk about big wins that lead you to conference titles, but there are always quantity is always important in winning a conference championship. But on the other hand, if you would like to see Indiana avoid where it was last season, where it didn't have enough quality wins, it was sweating on Selection Sunday, it, whether you agree with it or not, narrowly got into the NCAA tournament, then you want a slightly tougher schedule, and you would rather have, quite frankly, Minnesota only on the road, where I don't know if it'll be a good win or not, but it probably won't be the worst loss in the world, but Illinois at home and on the road, because from an NCAA tournament resume perspective, you'd rather beat Minnesota on the road, lose to Illinois on the road, and beat Illinois at home than beat Minnesota at home and on the road and lose to Illinois on the road. I strongly suspect that, come Selection Sunday, you'd rather have the sequence of events where you beat Illinois, just in terms of what I'm guessing those, where I'm guessing those games are going to fall in terms of quality wins for a tournament resume. And so, again, it's a little bit how you want to see it. As my good friend Mike Glasscott pointed out to me yesterday too, Indiana's 3 home-only opponents last year, Illinois, Michigan, Rutgers, lost to them all. So there's also an element to this, which is we can sit here and say, well, this looks easy and that looks hard, and this looks easy and that looks hard. Ultimately, you just got to take advantage of the opportunities you're given. And Indiana's probably been handed one of the 5 or 6 toughest schedules in the league. As much as we know right now, the way I put it, talking with Glass about it yesterday, was there's so much uncertainty around the league that a lot of, when we handicap it right now beyond Indiana, where we still have some concerns about Indiana, but at very least we feel like there's a lot you can trust about Indiana because of what they got coming back. A lot of the other teams that you start putting into that mix at the top half of the conference are teams where you're basically giving the coach the benefit of the doubt as much as you feel like you believe in any individual sort of player or set of players. Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan, etc. Indiana got basically every one of those teams that you would say is a benefit of the doubt. They'll probably find a way to be good teams home and away, except Wisconsin, which of course they got at home, which means that they don't have to go to Madison. Though at some level, if I was Indiana coach, I'd probably just ask to go to Madison like basically every game in the Big Ten season until I finally won one, and then I would just put that to bed and never do it again.
Yep.
But the point is, you're obviously going to have to play a tough schedule if you play in the Big Ten. Indiana probably got one of the 5 or 6 toughest, as best we can handicap it right now. But this is also an Indiana team that's voluntarily going to Kansas. It's voluntarily playing Arizona and Vegas. It's probably, I have no inside information, but I'd be very surprised if we're not going to see UNC and Indiana in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, just based on years of covering that event.
That's what I said too. I fully expect, and there's the possibility of Villanova being the opponent.
Yeah, there's a possibility the Gavitt Games is not guaranteed, but it's a possibility. The point is, Indiana wants a tough schedule. Mike Woodson wants a tough schedule, and the way that you get yourself to be in a program that is annually in the NCAA tournament is by embracing tough schedules and not thinking, okay, well, how can we just squeeze all the blood out of the stone so that we don't have to work any harder than we want to. Embrace tough schedules, embrace tough opponents. You may win a Big Ten. Maybe you come up a couple of games short of winning the Big Ten this season, but you wind up with more quality wins because you played a tougher schedule. I think ultimately, I think Indiana would probably rather look at it and say, let's just, let's take what we got.